If you're listening to this in the car and you're on your way home,
we'll be in
turn
your
around
house.
because we're in your house.
We're in your house. Welcome to the Horror Junkies Podcast, the podcast where we discuss all things horror. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Pat.
I'm Dylan.
I'm Jorge. And we're back, listeners, with another week. It is now October, and we're doing an exclusive interview with the director of Slice, Austin Vesely. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on our show.
Of course.
So, I mean, I guess like the one question we always ask everyone on our show is going to be what, Patrick?
What is your top 5 favorite horror scary movies?
Man, you know, it's interesting. I think my number one is The Shining.
There we go. Yes.
It's quite possibly my favorite movie of all time, so it's just automatically up there as far as horror goes.
Right.
You know, I think weirdly, I kind of like stuff that isn't exactly like defined as horror too, like the movie Dogtooth or like some of those Yorgos Lanthimos movies are kind of like that weird like body horror or like,
right.
You know?
Yeah, I'm into body horror. Never heard of that movie before, but I'm totally into body horror.
No, we're big, especially in body horror, we're big fans of that genre on this podcast. Like, I know I can speak for me and Mike, like our favorite is definitely The Thing.
Those movies are trippy.
Yeah. And then what else is on your list for you there, Austin?
Let's see. You know, I like the classics. Big fan of John Carpenter's. I guess I have to say, just go straight to Halloween. You know,
right.
Original. Let's see what else as far as other slashers and so.
Yeah, we actually just did a whole month of John Carpenter stuff, all of September. Just did, like, 8 movies.
Yeah, man. I just saw that he was saying that he wants to do a new movie, a new original, and I was like, man, please.
I hope so.
Yes, please.
And let's just hope that it's something that he's passionate about, because when he's not, his movies aren't good.
Very not good.
So let's just hope that he's into the movie that he's actually going to possibly be making. And I know he said The Thing 2 is out of the question. I know everyone was asking for him to do The Thing 2, but he's like, nah, I'm good.
There's no need for a sequel.
There's no need.
No, don't sully the legacy.
Yeah, for real.
I think Green Room would be way up there on my list too, which is another one that is kind of like a little bit different. But man, that movie, I've watched it. It has to be like 5 times, and I'm always on the edge of my seat. I love that movie.
Green Room's really good. Have you seen his newest film, Hold the Dark, yet on Netflix?
I have not. Oh, it's on Netflix right now?
Yeah, it just came out to Netflix original, and
it's pretty wild.
Wild.
Pretty wild.
Dude, I'm so stoked. I'm like, that's going to be what I'm doing tonight then. That's amazing.
No, it's definitely worth it. It was super good. Green Room is really, really good. Very visceral movie for sure.
I definitely include it in the genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's nasty when you get the people like somebody getting ripped up by a German Shepherd and stuff. It's brutal.
Yeah, me and George, we play in a hardcore band, and the director used to play in hardcore bands, and he used a lot of like actual like lingo and terminology from when he used to tour, like into the experience of him and the band that he put into the movie. So seeing that like small little nuances that people actually do on tour when they're in like a very low paid punk band is very, very cool to see.
Yeah.
And Patrick Stewart, Nazi.
That's
also a
right,
bonus.
It's also just like,
what? Captain Picard the Nazi.
Yeah.
No, that machete
that
scene always
sells you
gets
right
me.
away.
I think it's another cool question, man, is another one, especially when we're talking to directors, is like, what actually got you into filmmaking? Because I know you worked on a lot of music videos in your past. So, like, what really made you venture into the more movie aspect of filming?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess, you know, feature narratives was always where I was going, or was always where I was hoping to go. But it's been something that I've been into since I was really little. Like the first time I got my hands on a camera when I was like 6 years old or 7 years old, something like that. And it was just like, I don't know, there was just some type of like magic to that, to just be able to kind of create something out of nothing. And I was making total garbage. I was 6 years old, but it was, it was formative. So it was kind of just a hobby throughout, childhood and adolescence. And then when I got to Chicago, when I finally decided to try film school, is when I started making music videos to sort of, pursue the craft like in an active way outside of school. So
true. And some really good music videos, I must say. They're intense.
Thank you so
They're
much.
very, very wild.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It's been a wild 7 or 8 years, but those were such a fun experience because you're just kind of making like a little experimental film every time.
If you wanted to, like, if there was a horror movie you'd want to remake, which one would it be and why?
Man, good question. You know what? I saw that they're rebooting it right now, but I love the Child's Play movies a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually just watched that the other night, and man, it's a movie. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's serious, dude, and it's really Chicago too, which is something that I didn't really realize until I moved here, and I like found out that I lived next to like the location. The apartment building that the kid lives in with his mom, and the babysitter flies out the window and stuff. And
that's crazy.
Kind of like, and it kind of like reactivated my interest in the movies. And so I went back and checked them out, and I'm like, man, it would be so fun to make this movie again and really, go Chicago with it again.
Yeah, I think kind of like a horror like style love letter to Chicago, but with a possessed doll.
Yeah, totally.
I think that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah.
Well, man, with dude, A24, like in the past like recent couple years, man, they've been killing it. Like just with everything they've been bringing out. How was it, getting to work with them and backing you on this project?
Man, it was a huge honor. I mean, it's something that you can never sort of plan for or expect, and especially on your first feature. So it was just one of those things where all of the things that needed to line up did, and they ended up reaching out to us, and they were just great people to work with. They're like really encouraging about being a new filmmaker, and how they sort of want to help those voices along, and they really let me make the movie that I wanted to make, so it could sustain its weirdness, because they're just open to that.
All their movies are like super like out of nowhere sometimes, and I don't know, it's working.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
It's a cool studio to be working like with too, like just all around.
Yeah, very, very exciting for me.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your film Slice?
Yeah, so Slice is like a supernatural horror comedy. It's kind of like a film noir, where it's this like murder mystery where pizza delivery drivers get killed, and it's in this town where ghosts live among the living, and they're just like a part of the fabric of the universe, and people start blaming the ghosts for these murders, and they're trying to figure it out, and there's a pizza delivery driver going back on the job to solve it, and it's just kind of like a wild little ensemble piece.
It definitely is. It's definitely wild. With that being said, like, how did you come up with the idea for Slice? Like, what were some of the inspirations that really got you to make this type of comedy horror aspect of a movie?
Yeah, I think what's strange is more than any particular movie, I was really influenced by this book, this novella called Civil War Land in Bad Decline by George Saunders. And he's my favorite author. He writes a lot of short stories and a couple of novels, but he did this thing where there's this story where a guy works at a Civil War theme park, and every day he leaves work, and there's like this ghost family just like haunting his car and like kicking the tires, and he's just like, the ghosts are out there again. And I thought that was such like an interesting way to approach the supernatural, is to just sort of like take it for granted and leave it as fabric of the universe. So when I initially had this idea, this little thing about pizza delivery drivers getting murdered and how that could be this sort of nostalgic slasher thing. And then, once I kind of thought about this George Saunders ghost thing, it all kind of ballooned from there.
Hell yeah.
That sounds like an interesting story. I'm going to have to read that.
It's great,
wild.
man, because and it's one of those things where like the tone is so strange. It's absolutely hilarious, but super dark and like kind of moving at times. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
I will put it on my read list. Currently, I'm reading Who Goes There, which is the short novel that goes to the Thing, and the original Thing. It comes from another planet or outer space.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Any good?
It's really good. John Campbell is the one who writes it, and it's when you read it, it's literally like you're watching the Thing. Because everything that unfolds is literally just how it happens in the book, and it's like 40 pages. It's super short, but it's really cool to see how like you can really see where Kurt Russell fits into a certain character. Like you're like, oh, I can definitely see Kurt Russell as in playing McReady, but his name's not McReady in the book. It's something else.
Let me borrow that when you're done.
It's online
Right.
PDF, bro.
Send it to me.
Everything's on the internet now.
Yeah, I'm currently rereading Pet Sematary right now, and that is a super, super good book. That's like
You guys are on brand, man.
yeah.
Hey, you kind of got to know what you're talking about if you're going to do a podcast.
That's true.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah,
read.
I'd say.
stuff.
I'll say.
And then if you had like two horror comedy movies to kind of like compare Slice to for someone maybe who hasn't heard of that author, but you know they're really up with horror movies and they watch horror comedies all the time, what two could you stack Slice with?
I always kind of felt like there was this big inspiration for me from Shaun of the Dead, like Edgar Wright. I think just he tackled that sort of blend of the two genres better than maybe anybody. But then there's also sort of like the smaller indie ones that are a little bit maybe even weirder, like John Dies at the End, or
Yeah.
you know, some of those sort of like strange ones. But yeah, it's kind of like a mix of those type of things with, you know, maybe a little bit of Roger Rabbit in there, you know. So
Well,
it's
when you
like-
put it that way, yeah, you can definitely see it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I could,
yeah, that's sort of the Toontown, you know, as sort of a facsimile of the ghost town.
I could kind of see Slice being like a movie from like the 90s in a way,
Mhm.
because of the color
Yeah.
palette's very bright in it. I could totally see like if Slice was made in the 90s, like Danny Elfman would have scored it or something.
Oh man,
And
that's so funny you say that. I talked when I was initially coming up with, you know, what the music would be. I was totally thinking about Danny Elfman a lot, like early on.
Well, then
There you go.
Great minds think alike, man. What can I tell you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, well, having so many great people on set, you know, working on this movie, is like, do you have any like story, you know, on set story that just sticks out the most?
Man, there's one like really crazy day with Paul Scheer. He had like he's been on the cast before, right? You guys talked?
Yeah,
to
we
him?
actually
Yeah,
talked
we
to him
just-
a couple of weeks
yeah.
ago.
Really great dude. He had a death in the family towards the end of his shooting, and we had to like condense all of like a week's worth of shooting into like one day, and it was this like crazy day, but it was like super fun. You know, it was a day that Zazie Beetz was there and the whole Pizza Base crew and all that stuff, and we were just like hammering through these scenes and having fun, and you know, it was kind of like a sad thing, you know, but it was also this sort of like nice working environment thing
Yeah.
where everybody was just being really encouraging and willing to get the work done. So that's kind of a day that always stands out to me.
That's awesome. I mean, it's sad for the circumstances, but it sounds like a
Yeah.
really cool like time to be with everyone, hanging out, eating
Yeah.
pizza and delivering pizza and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, man. Just hanging out in our little fake pizza shop,
Yeah.
just, you know, making some goofs.
Paul brought up about how there was always like on the menu in the back of the pizza thing, there was always a different slice or something, like a cold brew slice, or like
Yeah.
there'd be something
Yeah.
different every time. And he told us he got like a really big kick out of it. And I was like, well, that gives me cause to rewatch the movie again. Not because I really enjoyed it the first time, which I did. It's just cool to go back and kind of see that what directors pepper in there as far as
Yeah.
like things for people to find
Yeah.
their second or third trip around. That's what really helps the movie
Yeah.
stay on ground for a long time and not just kind of float out into like nothingness.
Yeah, man. I'd like to think that there's a lot of that type of stuff in there that was just like a fun decision to make on the day where you could just do something weird and creative. Like, there's these two cops that are just like incompetent and they keep showing up throughout the movie, but they're not actually characters, you know? And,
Yeah.
and just, you know, like little stuff like that. So that's yeah, that'll be fun to kind of see what things people come up with over the span of its life.
I think Big Cheese is my favorite character.
Big
Big
yeah,
Cheese.
Big
Oh,
Cheese
man.
Big
was
Cheese
definitely
is my favorite
hilarious.
character for sure. Yeah.
That's great. I love that dude. That dude, Elon Noel, he came in and just like blew that out of the water. You know, I never really knew, like, when I was writing that character, it could have gone so many different ways. Where,
Yeah.
like, there was this this sort of vision of like the one-eyed John Goodman from Oh Brother Where Art
Oh
Thou?
my God.
Yes.
And then like, so you're sort of like evolving it when you're going through the casting process, and then you get someone like Yolande Knoll who just adds this completely new take on it that was incredible.
Yeah, his performance was awesome. I loved Big Cheese when he popped out of the car. I almost died. I was like, no.
Yeah, you knew he was going to be a standout character for sure.
And I do love the two cops in the film. I think they're freaking hilarious, especially because he keeps telling the one to shut the hell up. It's just like,
it was kind of like Big Lebowski style in a way.
Absolutely.
Just like Walter and Donnie.
Yeah.
I love that kind of banter.
Yeah, you said that when we were watching it, and I was like, I could see it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, because we did it the right way, the way you should watch Slice, which is order pizza and watch the movie.
Like at midnight.
At midnight.
And beer. And the beer. Don't forget the beer.
There was beer. Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
The best way to watch Slice.
All of these things.
And then the things, you definitely worked on like multiple projects with Chance, with Brain Cells and Juice and Angels, just to name a few of the music videos. How was it filming him, if it was any different at all, in a movie rather than a music video?
Well, it is different because it's so much like, when we're doing a music video, there's like, my work is so much about just shaping what the sort of the visual aspect is, and I don't really have to tell him much because he's such a charismatic performer and so sure of who he is as a musician and as an artist like that. So it was cool to sort of bring him into my world on this thing where it was sort of, now it's more strictly my vision, and we're going to sort of work through that. But I mean, there's also the aspect too that just from knowing him when I was writing the character, I was thinking about his voice and his charisma and his sort of like charm and the way to sort of try and bring those things out in his character. So, it was fun to like develop that and do something, of a bigger scale than a music video like that together.
Yeah, I could imagine it was completely crazy. I loved him playing the disgraced werewolf that just wants to deliver quality Chinese food. I thought that was like the funniest line, and
that's great, man. I appreciate that. That's one of my favorites as well. I just love the moment with the lighting and everything else.
Yeah, and so like, what was the reasoning? And forgive me if I don't remember that he didn't want why he didn't want to be a werewolf. He just didn't want to be the typical stereotypical werewolf that everyone thinks of. He wanted to be different, correct?
Yeah. There's sort of like, I guess there's this idea in the sort of deep lore of what this town is that they've sort of been trying to run supernatural beings out of town for a long time, and with some degree of success, so werewolves haven't been around, but they've been maltreated, and so he'd been accused of these crimes before, when he worked at the Chinese place. Mm-hmm. And his intention when he coming back to town was to sort of clear his name. And once that was taken care of, he's like, well, I'm not going to, transform for these people, who've already run me out once. I'm not going to, use my powers for good or evil. I just want to deliver Chinese food, baby.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Now, like you and Chance being from Chicago, does the city itself influence the movie at all, or?
I'd say maybe less than Chicago. It's sort of like maybe the Midwest in general. I was thinking, because it doesn't take place in what you consider like a city proper, like a really urban area. It's an older type of city, like a river town that was based around that sort of industry. So I was thinking about those like middle American towns, and how like sort of funny it would be if all those boring strip malls you pass by on rural highways, if there was all of a sudden a hellmouth there, and this sort of battle for good and evil. Something
that just seems kind of sort of mundane and just kind of out of the way as far as like society goes. It's like something actually very, very important could be going on there. And what would happen if that was the case? I can kind of see that. I can like Chris Parnell really played like the perfect version of a mayor.
Yeah.
Oh man.
When he's painting that naked girl, and he was talking to the painting, we all just looked at each other. We went, "Yo, what the fuck?" Man? We loved it. We thought it was so funny.
There's a lot of role building in this movie.
That's one of my favorite visual gags too. Is when he throws the jacket over it.
Right.
Oh, sorry. No. But there's still titties. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, it doesn't cover the titties.
Who has that painting? Did anybody keep it?
Oh, I've got it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah! That's the important questions. Is the painting still around?
Just take a picture of it and tweet it at us.
All right, perfect. I will.
Another thing that we brought up with Paul's interview was, since he plays Jack, pizza shop owner, if pineapple goes on pizza, and he brought up, big pizza, and they're pushing you and telling you what you can't put on pizza and what you can, things like that. In your own words, does pineapple go on pizza, and should the people be on the lookout for big pizza?
Yeah, Paul made me question using the Domino's Papa John's app because ever since Paul enlightened me to the existence of big pizza, I haven't trusted it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm afraid to speak out on the conglomerate, the monopoly.
I never thought I'd say this, but Paul Scheer made me woke on pizza. That's not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. I guess I have you to thank for it, so thanks.
But I don't know, man. I wouldn't judge people for putting it on there, but it's not for me.
Hell yeah.
It's not for me either. It's okay.
It's totally for me. I'm not afraid to say it. Yeah. I am proud of the pineapple on the pizza.
Yeah, I can
go for it, dude. You know what I've been thinking about lately is most of the time when there's a pizza that has buffalo sauce on it, it's always got chicken on there, and I'm like, I don't necessarily need chicken on here. I just love the sauce, man.
I do hot sauce on pizza regardless.
Well, dude, my new thing is not so much the pineapple and ham, but like pineapple jalapeno, where you get that sweet and spicy. Mm-hmm. Like that's the go-to combination.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about
Big Pizza has targeted us. Watch out. They're gonna come after all of us.
I'm gonna end up like the Alex Jones of Big Pizza. Just hunkered down in my room, just like that's what they want you to think. Just like freaking out.
The pizza's making the frogs gay.
Yes.
Yes.
Pineapples are trying to make your kids sweeter so that they're gayer. It's facts. It's facts. Like, millennials and their pineapples. Just like, what's so funny? It's so effortless for me to sound like Alex Jones, and I fucking hate it.
You could probably do it all day too.
I could. I really could. God damn it.
Yeah, it's not a resume skill.
No, it's not.
No.
It's something you bury deep in the depths.
But it
of
just
your
comes
soul.
out.
It's something you bring up when you're drunk at a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Austin, so you directed, wrote, and starred in this movie. Was it a bit challenging for you to tackle all three?
Yeah, it was. It was like it was nice that at least I had sort of a while with the script, so that when it came to like actually being on set, I knew all of those pages so well because they came from my mind. So that kind of helped with the directing stuff. But man, the acting thing, I totally underestimated. Like that was going to be such a difficult balance, because you've got this amazing actress in Zazie Beetz there, and it's like. I had thought, long ago, like, okay, I want to be the guy who dies at the beginning. But then I kind of forget that, I also have to play this scene with a really great actress now and try and balance, being able to give her direction. So it was great. I had one of my really good friends and longtime collaborators, Elijah Alvarado, on set to sort of like help guide me on those days when I was in front of the lens. Because, it was baffling. I don't know how those guys who, like, do that a lot, like Ben Affleck or whoever. I don't know how they do that shit.
John Carpenter does that a couple of times.
Yeah.
He writes, directs, and stars in his stuff.
Right, true.
Yeah. I feel like if you just the more you do it, the more you'll get more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Ben Affleck in the bat suit directing though? That's exactly all I was thinking when they announced that he was directing the movie, but now he's not. But like I was like, him in the suit and just being like, cut,
pointing at things.
Cut.
That would be the most amazing behind-the-scenes footage.
Oh my god!
Oh
yes.
yeah, it definitely would.
So there's a lot of world building in this movie, and I was just wondering if you were thinking about either with a sequel or a spinoff. Like, do you want to revisit this world?
Yeah, when I was first developing it, it was a short film initially, and then I was expanding it, and I had started writing it as a pilot, and I think that's sort of why there are so many threads and narratives in such like a big world, is because I was thinking about the possibility of expanding it. So, there's always that sort of hope that maybe it would sort of find another life in a TV series or something like that. I'm not sure about a sequel, but yeah, there's so much, man. I mean, you can do a prequel with all the other Dax, the werewolf stuff, So
there's a lot of delivery drivers out there.
It's totally, has the vibe of like what could be like a killer TV show for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And I've actually even written like a backstory for the Big Cheese, you know.
Oh,
yes,
there it is.
There's a world where that stuff could exist. And that would be very fun.
I want to live in that world.
Yeah, me too.
If A24 is listening,
Yeah,
please
make it this one, please.
Yeah.
This is how you make a universe.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that a little bit. The slice-averse or pizza.
The slice-averse. That'd be sick.
Cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like just like Scooby Doo, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
All together,
Everything.
Yeah.
everything. I guess there's another weird thing that happens. We usually ask people if they have a question for us. Last week, someone flipped us and asked us what our favorite movies were. You have anything in the back of your head that you want to ask us right on the spot? Make us think real hard for it.
Man, let's see. I guess maybe like what in the past, like maybe year. What's your favorite horror movie the past year or so?
Okay,
Right now?
That's pretty easy. If I can think of that's
Yeah.
That's pretty
all right,
easy
let's
for
go.
me.
Dylan first.
I'm gonna say Hereditary.
All right.
Hereditary.
Nice.
Pat,
Mandy.
Mandy.
Oh,
Have you seen Mandy yet?
I haven't seen it. I need to.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I was actually about to say the same thing too, but right now Mandy I think is on the top of that list for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to throw a curveball, and I watched something recently a couple nights ago called Summer of '84, and that was a really good movie. Think about like Disturbia, but in the '80s, but with a group of kids, so like maybe like Goonies-esque vibe to it. Really good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it, so that's going to be my favorite right now.
I have not heard about that.
Me and the wife we saw the thumbnail, and she goes, that one. And just because the thumbnail picture is so great, it just pulled us to it. So we watched it, and it was a really good watch. I suggest everyone watch that movie.
My wife.
What platform is it on?
I watched it on my PlayStation, so it's on VOD out
Cool,
there.
cool.
So it's probably on Xbox.
I've been meaning
Amazon.
to watch The Endless. Have you seen anything for that?
I've heard people talk about it, but I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, all about like UFO cults and
Yeah.
stuff. But like the people might actually be onto something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that's about, but that sounds nuts. And I love UFO cults.
Yes.
Cults
Yeah,
in
that sounds
general
dope.
interest
Yeah.
me, but like that especially, like what people think will come to Earth to save them is just mind blowing.
Flying spaghetti monsters.
Oh my god!
That's what's up.
Yeah, man, I'm into that. That sounds good.
Who here's watched Maniac yet?
No, not me.
I've watched a little bit of it. Maniac is insane.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard great things.
I'm a huge Cary Fukunaga fan. I'm very excited for that.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
dude, it's like the future that like 1970s Alien and like 1980 Blade Runner painted for us. It's like in like such a
Damn.
future to where it's like still very reachable and like as
Oh,
far
wow.
as where the technology is, but it's also like a commentary on current versions of like where people think the future's going with like ad-based services and things like that and how it's integrated into your life and just like, but it's got the very like Weyland-Yutani alien style computers, like
Yeah.
very like barbaric looking things. That's
Yeah.
technology.
Oh,
Little-
Each time they go
yeah.
into rooms like a different time.
this is crazy.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
weird.
you would,
It's weird, but it's good.
Yeah, I know people who have watched the whole series 3 times over.
Well, I was putting it off, but after
Yeah.
that I might have to actually start it.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I've got a whole list now.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, man, we'll set you up.
But Austin, we're so glad you took the time to talk to us about your movie Slice. We thoroughly enjoyed it. When we heard the
Thank you,
announce
guys.
that it was dropped on VOD platform, we were like immediately after our show we got together and watched it, and we laughed probably the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
Oh,
that we
yeah.
were laughing the
Oh,
entire
yeah.
time.
It was a good time.
It was a great
That's
time.
amazing, man. I really appreciate that. And that's the highest compliment I can get is that it was just a good time, man.
Well, yeah,
Definitely.
it's totally deserved, man. And like I said, thank you for coming on our show and talking to us. And we look forward to seeing your future products and maybe, some more world building, and we'll see some more delivery drivers get attacked.
Yeah.
The big
Yeah,
cheese.
man. I hope to fulfill that wish, that dream for all of us.
All right, man. Well, you have a
Thank you,
good
guys.
day,
Thanks for
and
having me. Yeah, you too. Thanks, guys.
later. All right, guys, that's been another exclusive interview over here on the Horror Junkies podcast. Stay tuned for this week when we discuss Salem's Lot and Salem's Lot Return. Stay weird.